Kia ora. My name is Brian Lucid, and I'm head of school of Ngā Pai Mahu Tonga, the Wellington School of Design. It's the designer's role to dream of a future that doesn't yet exist, and then work to bring that future to life by making decisions in the present. Designers envision a path of opportunity, a path where problems can be solved, constraints moved, policies evolved, and behavior changed, leading to impactful results. At the Wellington School of Design, we do this across an expanded sphere of design. That means that our work ranges from the creation of bespoke objects and graphics, to the creation of systems of products, environments, and structures, to the planning and implementing of ecosystems of products and services, working towards design on its most massive scale, the shaping of our social and natural environments over short, medium, and long time scales. Our curriculum is designed to integrate conceptual thinking with hands-on making skills, so that each student can take action upon the world. That way they can best shape the future for themselves and those around them. Our 4-year program provides additional time in studio. This leads to greater depth within a discipline. But it also provides the time that's necessary for students to be able to step outside of that discipline and explore design more broadly. Our curriculum is based on hands-on making. And that's been something that we've really defined as a core component of our curriculum. Even as we've become increasingly digital, we've recognized that part of what makes us unique as a design institution is our connection to physical making across all of our disciplines. One of the advantages of being a design school that's more than 130 years old is that we're constantly challenged to integrate traditional and the analog with modern digital technology. And this is something that happens across all of our programs. When you visit us, you'll find our workshops full of both digital equipment and analog equipment sitting side by side, bridging together hundreds of years of history of design making.
Yeah, so I suppose a good place to start is just to have a chat about what actually goes on in the visual communication design program. And when a lot of people think about visual communication, they think about it in terms of the different types of outputs. So within visual communication, we cover print and editorial design, illustration, brand communication, moving image, motion graphics, video, AR and VR, and there's also information design. So as you can see, it's pretty broad and pretty varied. So in essence, we break the degree into 2 parts. So the first couple of years are spent are more skills focused, so a student will gain a lot of confidence and proficiency in a wide range of technical skills, also processes for developing ideas. The briefs will be quite prescribed, so you'll be given a really clear objective, you'll be given a step-by-step process on how to reach those objectives, and you'll also be told the mode of working that you'll need to use to address it. So it might be a series of posters, it might be a multi-page document, or it might be a website. And the real cool thing about these couple of years is you get to try your hand at a lot of different things and gain a lot of confidence, but also work out your particular interest within this diverse area of visual communication. Then as you progress through the degree, the objective is that you'll leave as a real independent, creative and critical thinker. So the briefs become a lot more open and the students get a lot more creative freedom. And this culminates in that 4th year, where students get to pick an issue of their choosing, they get to research it, develop their own brief, and then they can respond to that brief and hopefully resolve it any way they like. Yeah, we're really active in a lot of awards, and our students really excel both nationally and internationally. So they've done really well in the New Zealand Best Awards, the Red Dots in Singapore and Berlin, and also there is the International Society of Typographic Design, which is an international society that students have done really well with. Yeah, so the cool thing about working at College of Creative Arts is you get to use the gear from across all the different areas. So within visual communication, if you want to get your hands dirty, we've got really great screen printing facilities. There's also some wonderful old printing and letterpresses that they can use. There's the 3D workshop over in Industrial, so you can use good old skill saw and lathe. There's a fab lab, so we've got things such as 3D printers, laser cutters, photography studios, lighting setups, green screens. Students work both independently and in groups depending on the assignment, but yeah, in general, the first couple of years are independent, but over that time, the students work on all the assignments collectively. They get to know each other really well. They get a real common understanding of design, and this helps them work collaboratively in a real constructive way down the track. In the last couple of years, there are a lot more group projects because we think it's really important that you get to learn how to work with each other, and design is a social thing, so those are important skills to have. So in visual communication, we've developed several different pathways that students can take, and this involves the core assignments, but also depends on the electives that they choose. And this really helps students focus in on an area of interest, or maybe kind of develop a level of expertise. So the pathways we've developed are, there's brand, there's information design, there's typography, there's interactivity, and there's illustration. So so those are areas that students can really pursue if that's what they wish. So while visual communication is really diverse, something that really, a thread that joins them all is this real focus on how design can be used for good. So within visual communication, we're not really interested in selling you the latest fad. What we're really interested in is briefs that highlight how design can be used to contribute to society in a really meaningful way. So within visual communication design, and I think probably across the whole college, the lectures are really hands-on in the studio environment, so we work a lot with students to guide them, facilitate them to reach their objectives. We also really encourage a really supportive and collaborative studio environment, so there's lots of students working with each other to help, whether it's giving feedback or critique or generating ideas. We also get students from the senior years to come down and help out, and this is all part of trying to soften those barriers between the year groups. And to complement that, there's a couple of fantastic student-led mentoring initiatives. One's called Tahi Rua Toru Whā, and that involves just informal meetups where you can do everything from chatting about what courses you might want to take. The senior students might give you advice about your work, or they might even just tell you where you can get some good noodles in town that are good and cheap. There's also Band from Brews, which has now been running for about 5 or 6 years, and that's where students invite recent graduates to come in and talk about that transition from university life to work life, and you get to kind of make those connections over a couple of pieces of pizzas and a few beers. So great opportunities for mixing not just with your year group but across the different year groups as well. It's a really exciting time to be a designer, and there's lots of great opportunities out there. So we've got students who go out and work, whether it's in designing publications or branding for studios. A lot of students work in the more online environments, so whether it's thinking about user experiences or user interfaces or just the general marketing. But what we're also seeing is a real growing demand for students who can use their design skills and processes at a strategic level. Especially government agencies, businesses and social enterprises meet the needs of the people they're serving in a real kind of meaning and human-centred way.
The Textiles major is part of the BDes programme within the School of Design. And as an area of design, it's quite difficult to pin down because it's actually a part of so many different areas: fashion, product, interiors and beyond. But essentially in Textiles here at Massey, we focus on the creation of new materials, new surfaces, but also on new material experiences and systems. Textiles and materials are key to our sustainable futures, and so we really forefront this in what we do in Textiles here. So as part of this, we encourage you to connect with the whakapapa of Textiles specific to Aotearoa, New Zealand, but also to broader global perspectives, encouraging you to connect traditional approaches and the latest technologies. So Textiles at Massey is really unique to comparable programmes within New Zealand and also internationally because of the interdisciplinary nature of the BDes programme. It means that you can shape your studies in textiles towards your own personal goals and specific creative aspirations. So for example, you might want to study the textiles major alongside courses on fashion or industrial design or areas like concept design or visual communication. And our graduates often go into those sort of industrial spaces, and even beyond into connecting with fine arts practices as well. And so you can do this through taking specific elective pathways alongside the textile major, or working textiles into a route through the integrated design major. So the first year of the BDES programme enables you to take courses from a whole range of different areas within design, including textiles. Within textiles, we focus on materials and establishing a way of designing that really forefronts thinking through making. So it's about experimenting with different materials, different processes, working playfully, but also really thinking about how this impacts on the planet. Within the second year of the textiles programme, it's all about getting a kind of textile specific toolkit under your belt. So it's about learning the fundamental materials and processes that we work with. So learning about print design, woven textiles, knitted textiles, embroidery. It's about gathering a kind of toolbox of skills, but it's not just about skills, it's about thinking through making and about the workshops and facilities that we have being the creative spaces themselves. It's not just about fabricating ideas, it's about thinking through making. So in the third year of the programme, it's all about applying these textile specific skills to real world problem spaces and live project briefs. And then in the fourth year, you can really establish a personal area of interest and develop a year-long research project that's really personal and specific to you. You might want to focus in on one particular area of textiles or develop a whole range of different processes and practices. Textile students have the opportunity to engage in a whole range of national and international competitions, and our students often find success in those spaces. So for example, we take part in an international colour competition called the Society of Dyers and Colourists, and we've had several global winners in that competition over recent years. We take part in the International Woolmark Challenge. Our students have the opportunity to take part in international exchange programmes and internships. Recently, we've had students take opportunities in the UK, the US, Hong Kong and India. We also take part in study trips to India in collaboration with fashion. Our facilities are extensive and second to none. Our workshops offer a really unique experience for students. So our students engage with a whole range of traditional textile technologies, so from screen printing, weaving, knitting and embroidery, and we look at these from both analogue and digital perspectives, so you get a really hands-on experience of textile processes but also get to combine those with the latest digital fabrication techniques. And so this really allows our students to combine craft and technology and engage with technology areas beyond textiles, so engaging for example with elements like coding, VR, AR, 3D printing and so on. What's really lovely about textiles is that we're one of the smaller areas within the School of Design, and so there's a really lovely sense of community. Everybody gets to know each other, and because we're working in the workshops a lot, on site, on location, you really get to know each other well, and there's a real sense of collaboration and kind of dwelling with your practice. Graduates from textiles move into a whole range of different design-based careers. For example, working as print designers for high street fashion labels, woven textile designers for interior furnishing fabrics, product development with sustainable and an ethical focus, and many of our graduates set up as successful freelance designers or build successful designer-maker practices. So in textiles, we're looking for students who are really curious, who are engaged in the visual and material world around them, and who care about how we use our resources. If you want to come and study textiles, you don't need any prior experience in terms of textile skills. You don't need to have a certain level of technical ability. What we're looking for is students who are really interested in the world around them, are observing colour, structure, pattern, and want to make a difference in terms of how we use the material resources that are available to us.
So with industrial design, we make three-dimensional things. We design three-dimensional things. So the things that we're surrounded with, things like cameras, phones, hardware, furniture, your jewellery, your watch, all these things are industrially designed. And the things that we're particularly interested in are the way people engage with these things. We design for people, we think about people who are using them and how they work best. with these things we design. Industrial design at Massey has a particular flavour, and that particular flavour is that we make things. Because we're working in the 3D world, because industrial designers are making 3D things, then we embed the manipulation of the 3D world in our design processes. So we make all the time. Somebody who comes in at the first year level that will be in the workshops in the first week making things, understanding the three-dimensional world through materiality, through form, through shape, through texture, and then embedding that understanding in the things that we design. So the way that we think about things, the designing for people is central and critical, and then the way that we express those things, the way that we explore those things here at Massey is through making. Because we think making is so important, from day one, you're in the workshops making things. In the first year, one of the first exercises that you would do would be working with a very simple material that allows you to create a three-dimensional object out of a flat sheet. And then as we work through the subsequent years, we layer in skills around visualization, around making, around designing for people, the details of ergonomics and how people fit things, right through to design and emotion and how we feel about things. And then by the time we hit the fourth year, we take that skill set that you've developed and apply that to a really complex design project. And it's a project which students are allowed to choose and are allowed to steer, and let that skill set play out in how you explore the 3D world again, how you design for people, and bring all that in together into a really nicely designed object. And we have a range of digital manufacturing equipment, additive manufacturing, 3D printing, laser cutting, CNC machining, got some big 3D printers that we're exploring at the moment. This is a process that we'll refer to as sketch modelling. And these things are made very simply by hand with sandpaper and files and hand tools. And what they do very quickly is they let us understand how something is held, what it feels like, if it's the right size, that sort of feedback. And so these very simple models are also something that I really, really enjoy because they get us started in that 3D journey very, very quickly. Externally, we do a lot of work with design awards. So for example, one of our classes at the moment is working on an external brief with a bathroom manufacturer. And we often take projects that we're working on and submit them to awards, things like the Best Awards or the Red Dot Awards, which we do very well, the Dyson Awards, the Kohler Awards, the Dowse Art and Craft Awards are things that we submit work to. We staircase through our 4-year qualification, so there's a lot of skill to be learned working in the 3D world. So we start off with the skills, and then we introduce more and more sophisticated projects as the skill set builds. So projects that you'll be working on in second year will be quite focused and probably not engaged with a client. When we work for the third year, we will work with clients. Then in the fourth year, when you're working with your own projects, you've really got good opportunities to go out and establish partnerships with people in the country, or in fact internationally. The student experience in industrial design at Massey is built a lot around the studios and our physical making spaces, our workshops. We're all practicing designers, we're all here because we love teaching, and so you'll work with us in the studios, but you'll also work with doing a lot of work outside formal class times with other students, but also in the workshops. And as much as we love doing our work from a lecturing point of view, the people who help us in the workshops are absolutely crucial to what we do, and we have a brilliant team of people in the workshop to help people understand how to make things, how to work with materials, how to work with machines and get the best results. So careers in industrial design, again, huge range of places that industrial designers end up. Some relatively obvious, perhaps. We have a graduate, Sam McCafferty, who works for Ducati designing motorcycles. Great work. Yeah, awesome thing to be working on. We have graduates working for Fisher & Paykel making whiteware. We've had graduates working with Apple, designing iPhones and iMacs, working with Samsung, working with vehicle manufacturers, those sorts of quite high profile and what I would call core industrial design things. We also have people working in furniture. So for example, Rachel Hall, who's one of our recent graduates, works for Formway Design, based here in Wellington, and has done some really interesting work in the commercial furniture and domestic furniture space. in terms of the range of industrial design, we go from that kind of product furniture space all through to other areas where, for example, one of our graduates has done a lot of work with the New Zealand Police, thinking about what the police of 2046 are going to be doing. And that's a forecasting project. It's kind of a futures element to industrial design, which is fascinating. So we go from designing products through to designing for people, designing systems, and some of those careers span that range. I talked before about making, so making's really important. And if you're a person who's out there and you make things, you love working with your hands, manipulating things, and it might be making cakes or making clothes or painting Warhammer models, making letterboxes for your grandparents, whatever, then industrial design is a place that you want to think of. It's a place that lets you make and explore the reasons why we make and build a skill set around that. But equally, we'd like to see people who draw a lot. We'd like to think that people who are visionary, creative, futures focused, want to make the world a better place. Industrial design is a really good home for people like that. And the people that we like to work with are people who have that need to make, that it's here somewhere. They need to make things, they need to create, they're engaged, they're interested, they're going to push us through asking us questions that we don't really know the answers to. Those are the people that we want to work with.
Our fashion program at Massey encourages students to develop their own creative and experimental design processes, supported by technical skills, critical thinking, knowledge, and problem solving. In addition to these skills, you develop a high level of understanding in markets, the customer, the consumer, and also how to promote yourself post-Massey. By the end of the program, we aim to have prepared you to find gainful employment for a diverse fashion future. Something that is really unique and noticeable at Massey is how students develop their design work around issues of sustainability. We see many projects with innovative and responsible approaches to fashion design, such as using zero-waste production methods and circular design strategies. And this type of understanding encourages students to find new ways to innovate and respond to a rapidly changing fashion future. Many students talk about the fashion show and the exhibition as being a highlight of their time at Massey, an opportunity to show their work on the runway to industry, media, and a great expose of their work going forward for future employers. We teach creative, strategic, and practical skills to prepare you for a career in fashion, and you learn how to explore concepts and think in experimental and sustainable ways. A popular opportunity with students is the International Study Exchange, where you spend a semester studying fashion at an overseas university in a city such as Nottingham, London, Milan, or New York. Our students love international field trips. We have led frequent sustainable fashion study tours to India, where Massey students collaborate with fashion students in Delhi. An opportunity for our fourth year students is to take their work to New Zealand Fashion Week to show in the graduate show. This is a wonderful opportunity for students to showcase their work to international buyers and media and to network with industry. We have spacious studios in the fashion department filled with resources to enable you to learn all aspects of your fashion training. We have digital technology, drafting tables, and lots of industrial machinery. We've got some great machines that do things like stitch on buttons and make buttonholes for you. But probably a favourite piece of equipment with our students would have to be the cutter plotter, which works alongside our digital pattern making platform. This not only prints but cuts out your pattern for you, a great time saver, and with minimal waste. Our graduates work across a wide spectrum of fashion opportunities. They have gone on to establish their own labels or to work as company designers, freelancers, consultants, etc. Students work in diverse areas, such as designing at Zambezi or digital pattern making at Karen Walker. We have students who have worked in trend forecasting teams in WGSN in London or as product developers at Nike in the US. We have students producing specification packages for protective wear companies, and we have a graduate who works in the design team at Koto, a New Zealand sustainable fashion label. Many students also own their own businesses. An example would be Catherine Wilson Footwear, Kate Sylvester, Ruby and Liam, and Colette Dunnigan.
The core core of concept design is about telling stories. We talk about our pillars as being storytelling, characters, and world building. And so it's the imaginative creation of new worlds and experiences for people to engage within. And these experiences can sit within animation or film or game, but also in more emergent spaces such as location-based experiences and brand experiences as well. But the core of it is that as humans, we're very invested in telling stories, our stories, the stories of other animals, creatures, beings, future world possibilities around us. And so concept design is about how we visualize that and how we get an audience to feel comfortable that they want to engage in that space. They'll be working on digital platforms using Photoshop or ZBrush or Maya to digitally realise these designs, but they'll also work physically with physical clays and sculpting materials, model making, and bringing the physical real-world experience into their process of design. We're also looking at emergent technologies as a way of realising new experiences, so looking at virtual reality spaces as a way of being able to propose or visualise a potential world and get people to actually participate within it. Concept designers have always wanted to tell these interesting stories. You think about the Star Wars franchise, which is rooted in diversity and looking at different narratives of people and how the tension points that bring them together. Someone had to think about how all of those different creatures and ecosystems and politics were going to play out within that world, and then what it was going to look like and how the audience was going to buy into it. So the core of concept design is rooted in drawing. Drawing is a quick fire way of ideating, and we're talking drawing in your sketchbook. So those kids that are sketching in the back of their maths book, we want them in concept design. But it's also sculptors and model makers and people who love to build fantastical worlds or fabricated worlds. The first class that we have in first year is called Imagine, and in that class we focus on the drawing process of designing characters. We look at archetypes, we look at stories and how we unpack stories and flesh them out into these kind of really meaningful characters. If students have come in with an understanding of drawing, we help them level up in digital painting in that first class. So concept design graduates will find themselves in a variety of different spaces in industry. They might be working within game or film companies, but they might also be setting up their own businesses. So we've had a number of graduates going out into the New Zealand industry, into game companies like Pickpock or Grinding Gear Games, but also to Where to Workshop as concept designers, and into production for a variety of different films that are happening in New Zealand. They've also gone a lot wider to international companies such as Framestore and Bethesda Games, and a number of animation companies throughout Canada. There's a lot of scope for where concept design students can actually go once they've graduated. There also seems to be a bit of a theme going on that if you've got brightly coloured hair, that's definitely another kind of pseudo prerequisite, or if you're a little bit wacky, or if you've got like an obsession for monsters or creatures or anything. We really love people who are really interested in playing games but also pulling them apart and dissecting them. So we're quite interested in people who are who kind of sit on the fringes of their groups. So the concept class is a very inclusive space. It's really important that students in concept feel really confident to be able to talk about their ideas and be able to share what they're thinking about with the rest of the class. And so we create a really nice safe space for students to feel confident to be able to do that. We help students that are a little bit shy to be able to speak and feel confident to be able to talk about their work. And we really embrace everybody's kind of uniqueness and perspective or worldview into that space. It's really important because those differing worldviews make for a really diverse kind of output of designs that they're going to create.
Photography at Massey is a unique experience because we have this vast College of Creative Arts, which means that as a student you can intersect with people and technologies that are really diverse and bring that to your photographic work. We have people using the DSLR camera to make movies and learning about audio capture and what it means for a photographer. We even have a whole lot of active dark rooms where you can learn alternative processes and darkroom photography. We have the photo book is a medium that we specialise in, and we have workshops and facilities for that. So it's a really rich and diverse experience. In the photography program, we ask students to take a deep, hard look at the whole world of photography, and it's an expansive field. There is so much happening. We wake up every day immersed in photography. It's part of our lives. So we ask students to look at possibly finding a pathway through documentary photojournalism, or in the fine arts field, or in the commercial field. Photography has a role there. So we provide platforms and spaces and workshops and technology to immerse people in that, but not just the technology. It's the language of photography. It's the role it has in contemporary society, and the role that we can play. And it's a truly expansive field. When you take the journey of being a photography major, you immerse yourself with a culture of students and lecturers who are in love with the medium and really take that exploratory stance. We really get in depth with the way that we can grapple with the medium and do new and exciting things with it. So we immerse you in studios. There's a lighting studio. We do on-location lighting. We do photography at night. We have darkroom facilities so you can learn analog processes and alternative processing. And we go in depth with post-production, and we have really fine printing facilities. So we take an expansive view of what photography can be. More than that, we really engage with, how do you talk about photography? How do you look at it critically? What's it doing in our contemporary world? We look at the history of photography, and we become practitioners who really can bring our smart thinking to what we do. More than ever, we need really smart people who know how the medium works. We need people who can get in there and understand how photography and social media works, how it can persuade us, how we can use photography really creatively to deal with some of the big problems that we face on this planet at the moment. So you might be wondering, where do our photography graduates go? It's a big wide world out there, and I think you'd be surprised at the expanded kind of places where people go when they become a graduate in photography. I mean, of course, we have people who are photographers, commercial photographers who are making a living, doing editorial work and commercial work. But we have people who work at museums and art galleries as photographers there. We have people who aren't photographers as such, but are picture editors. So it opens up this whole world of creative media practices that people can move into. We have people who are photography teachers, people who work as make a living as artists working with photography. And we have people like Robin Hammond, who works for National Geographic. You'll see some of his work on the covers of National Geographic.
We get asked a lot what spatial design is, because it sounds like a really sort of broad term. And what spatial design encapsulates is traditional practices such as interior architecture. It also incorporates landscape design and urban design. We look at exhibition and performance and temporary structures. So spatial design is about an approach to spaces and environments. We always consider things from the way it would be to experience it within your body. Well, when I and we refer to digital spaces, we are talking about everything that exists on the internet and then the possibilities within virtual reality. I think that increasingly this idea of mixed reality, so the movement between the physical space that we all inhabit with our bodies and then the spaces that we can inhabit through these kinds of technologies and the points that they meet. And then also video and other time-based media as well. So students in their first year of spatial design would be introduced to the core concepts and ideas that spatial design covers. Lots of students don't know what that is when they come to spatial design, and we work with them to unpack what that means. So students will learn technical drawing skills and video editing and also rendering software. You don't need to know anything when you come to the course. We will help you to learn all of that. Students will also be introduced to concepts of light and materiality and the importance of sight and understanding the social and cultural and historical context of the spaces that we work in. In the first year of spatial design, and then also in some part in the second year too, we are equipping students with all of the tools and the skills that they need to create and imagine and represent spaces. And then as you progress in the degree and in the third and fourth year, you're able to branch out and explore the things that you're most interested and passionate about. In our briefs and our projects, we work with students so that they can respond to the brief in whichever way they feel most drawn to. And so sometimes that could be that they design a piece of furniture or a costume or a temporary installation. And all of these things are approached from the position of a spatial practice, so considering how it exists in space and how it is encountered by the people who it is made for. Students who study spatial design have the opportunity to do internships, and those internships are sometimes with staff members. We had a group of students who interned with Stuart Foster and the team who put together the New Zealand exhibition for the Prague Quadrennial of Performance Design in Space in 2019, and those students actually travelled to Prague and put together an exhibition that was viewed by hundreds of thousands of people. Over the course of their study at Massey and Spatial Design, students have access to a wide range of facilities and software. We look at projection design and lighting design and some beautiful purpose-built spaces. We also teach students a range of rendering programs so that they can create essentially photorealistic images of the spaces that they are designing. And we also have very beautiful studios that we've just moved back into, and the studio space is really important for us because it means that we can prototype ideas at one-to-one scale, that students are able to create something and actually be inside of it and see how it feels, which is a really important part of their learning. And we work really closely with students in a studio environment, so lots of one-on-one time or time in small groups. We get to know our students really well, we know everybody's name, and the benefit of this is that we can work with them to develop what their spatial practice is. One of the most incredible things about the spatial design program is the breadth of careers that our graduates go on to have. We have students who work in more traditional areas such as interior architecture practices, but we also have students who work in exhibition design as designers on films. We currently have a graduate who works as a designer at the Ice Cream Museum, and we have students who also work in the design and installation of retail spaces and restaurant spaces. We've had students who have gone on to do more fine arts-based practice and performance art. We've had students who work in council and the urban design and urban planning teams. It's really driven by whatever their interests are, and I think that what makes spatial design important and looking forward to the future is that our graduates will go on to imagine and create the spaces that we live in, and they have the opportunity to make those spaces inclusive and accessible to all people and to reflect values of kindness and community. And so we really look to equip graduates with a critical understanding and a curious approach to the world so that they can make spaces that are really beneficial for the communities that they serve.
So one of our newest majors, launching this year, is integrated design. Integrated design is a truly unique major. As far as I'm aware, it's the only program of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. Integrated design is for the design student who recognizes that their personal design practice doesn't neatly fit into one of the existing majors within the school. It allows them, through faculty supervision, to design their own design program by pulling together courses from across the curriculum within the school. An example of this is an industrial design student who is interested in materiality and wants to spend a significant part of their education also studying textiles. Or a fashion student who wants to integrate fashion media and brand into their practice. Students within integrated design work closely with a supervisor to design their own design program and are followed by that supervisor throughout their educational journey.